So where I want to put my scripts that I'm going to create is I want to dump those goodies right here next to at dep. Where we go, external Python dep. I want to install them right here. That's where I'm going to want to create them next to my Python directory, but not in my Python directory, because I'm going to put some other things inside of it. That's the mischief that we're up to. Okay, we're going to make a Win file. So a file for Windows. That's going to be our install script path / and we're going to call it dep install.cmd. On Windows, we can use either batch file.bat or a CMD file. So we're going to use a CMD here. Then we've got a Mac. We've got a Mac file for this. And this is going to be similarly our install script path / our dep install.sh. Cool, groovy. All right. So we've got those two goodies right out the gate. Now, there's a whole bunch of like crazy, silly text that we're going to take advantage of to handle how we install these things and where we install them. And I'm not going to make you write that all from scratch, because that is just a mean, cruel thing to do. But over here in Touch, if we back up a layer, we'll see that there is some text next to our base, our QR codes, that we can select all and copy. We're going to just go ahead and borrow that and add it here to our template text that we're creating here. So we've got our Windows template. I'm missing a comment, pardon me. And this is our Mac template. This uses, we're going to take advantage of our ability to format our text. So we're going to actually be able to put in specific little bits right into these areas, right? So our target is going to become our target from here, and our requirements file is going to become our requirements file. We could do all this from scratch, but I don't think we necessarily have to do that. We'll be much happier, I think, if we kind of skip over that part of the silliness. Okay, so underneath all these goobers, we've got a few other things that we can do. So we need to do a few little other bits. So we've got to create some formatted Win text. So we got to format all this business. Okay, so what is that? That's going to be our Win text dot format, and our rec, req rex equals. So we're going to match our keywords rex. That is going to actually be a point to our rec file. Okay, so this goober is this goober, which is over here in Touchland. That's this goober. So we want to grab this thing. We're going to expand its path out, and then we're going to drop it right in here in this part of this little file that we're going to create. And we got to do the same thing for target. All right. How about target is going to be equal to our install target. That's our formatted Win text. Let's go ahead and format our Mac text while we're at it. Formatted Mac text. Okay, so this is our Mac text. We're going to format that. Rex is going to be equal to our requirement, requirement file. Target is our install target. Okay. Before we move on, let's just print those goobers out. So formatted Win text, and then let's also print out our formatted Mac text. Let's just, before we get too far deep along this process, let's make sure that we can actually print those things out and that they show up just the way that we want. So I'm going to right click, run my template. Aha! Sure as shooting, look at that. We can see that this points to my requirements file. This points to my target directory. Same thing over there in Macland. I am feeling so swanky and great. I just love how that's working so far. Let's go back over here to VS Code, and we can comment those bits out. We don't need those anymore. Now that we've actually gotten all the formatting right, though, we do actually need to make the files for these. So we're going to use a handy mechanism that you're going to find on the internet if you're looking at any number of sources, whether it's on GitHub, whether it's on Stack Overflow. There are lots of places you might look for examples, and this is not uncommon for the kind of approach that you might take. So we're going to use this approach where we say with open. So we're going to use this thing open. And we'd like to use our win file, right, up here, this thing. Our problem, though, is that what we get back from a win file is actually going to be a pathlib object. And we need to turn that pathlib object into a string. So we've got to explicitly say, hey, I want this to be a string. So open this file, or if I can't open it, create it. The next thing plus W, or excuse me, W plus something that I have write permissions on. I'm going to use double quotes here. You can use double quotes or single quotes as long as they match. As, so open if it exists. If it doesn't open, create this file. And for now, I'm going to call it win script, colon. Okay. Then win script. Oops, win script. Okay. Win script, I want to take that object that I've just either opened or created and opened, and I want to write into that file all of my formatted Windows text. Perfect. Why would I use this silly thing? Like, why take this approach? Well, the reason that we do that is another way that we might do that more explicitly is we might say, hey, my win script is going to be open and this same business. Okay, so I want to use all of that. Okay, and then my win script dot write, right? So formatted win text. Okay, great. And then the last thing I have to do is my win script, I have to close it. So I've got to do, you know, in this case, I don't have to do too many extra steps, but if I was getting to something more complicated, I might run into a situation where I'd have a lot of extra work that I might have to do. Generally, in Python, if we can save ourselves a line, we can save ourselves a line, and that's one more line of code we don't have to write. And when we use this approach, we don't actually have to manually close it, because after we exit from this little bit right here, we'll close the file automatically. And that can help save us some real heartaches and headaches if we're not careful. So we've gone ahead and we've made our win file. Let's do the same for our Mac file. With open, again, let's make a string. And this time out of our Mac file, okay, we want to make sure that it's writable. We're going to call this one as Mac script. See our I, great. Okay, then our Mac script, we're going to write to that our formatted Mac text. Okay, let's save that goodness. We're on fire. And now let's, I'm going to go ahead and open up this folder here, right? So again, here's our external Python in depth. That's where this goodness lives. Okay, fingers crossed this all works. So we should be able to say right-click, run this. And if we look over here, sure enough, I have just made files. I am the maker of files. It's amazing. Please insert sparkles. This is where the sparkles happen as the maker of files.